Good morning. Today is Monday, the 24th of April. I got a nice reminder yesterday from our friend Cindy Field that I have not put out a podcast recently, and so she was just checking in to see how I was doing. Well, I actually did put a short 5-minute update last week. At least I recorded one. I forgot to upload it. So I'll make sure I do that along with this one. But it is Friday morning and a week after Easter. It's been a busy week. So along with our trek down to Washington, D.C. for Easter, I had Monday after Easter off. And so it was a short week for me. I had a lot to get done in 2.5 days. On Thursday afternoon, my daughter Anna and I drove up to Massachusetts for her to make a... Morning. To make a third visit to Gordon College. Now, she is coming down to crunch time. Next Monday is the 1st of May, so she has to have this decision made by May 1st as to what college she's going to go to. And that's causing a lot of angst in her. Wish it wasn't. And so I think we at least have our information down. It's just making that final decision. Let's see. We went up Thursday afternoon, drove up to Sturbridge, Massachusetts, and stayed the night at a Scottish inn. And it was about an hour and a half from the college, so Margie thought it would be good to not have a super long drive on Thursday and then leave early, beat the traffic, and get into Gordon. And that's what we did. Now what worked out nicely was the weather was rainy and cold. And if we had gone to the place closer to the college that we had gone to before, we would have had to have parked out away from the building and would have gotten soaked. With this Scottish inn, it was more like a motel, and you could drive right up to your room just about. And that made it easy, very easy going the next morning. I'm enjoying a little morning coffee as we walk along here. So I'm over at the 4th Street Park. I didn't get any running in last week. I always pack running gear with me so I can escape if I wanted to, but it just didn't lend itself to doing that last week. We had a nice visit, and I caught up with an old professor of mine from college. So this is 26 years ago. The guy has not changed. He looks remarkably young, though he's probably in his 60s. He's grayer. I don't remember him having a lot of hair before. He had about the same amount of not a lot of hair as he did before that I remembered, but he thought he had less. I know I had less. And I also knew that he probably wouldn't recognize me. But he was very cordial, very affable. Really nice. Had a nice conversation. We knew we knew a lot of the same people. So he had given me updates on either other professors or people I worked with or that kind of thing. It's a small town out in Indiana. Well, let's see. This coming weekend, what was I thinking? In 2 weeks, so a week from Saturday, oh, I know. I was going to I need to change my mode here on my Garmin. Just a minute. I just wanted to make sure I was in running mode and not cycling mode. Let's see. What was I talking about? It's typical of me. So this coming in 2 weeks, on the 6th of May, is a 5K in support of the Truth for Women project. It's I think I've described this before as a shelter, a home for women escaping sex trade, I think. I'm not sure if that's its sole purpose, but I think that's what it is. And then this past Saturday, just 2 days ago, would have been my next scheduled math test. But because I was up late, I was talking about my visit to Gordon. Yeah, so we had nice visits. Left Friday afternoon and then got back around 11:30 on Saturday night or Friday night. So Saturday would have been my math test, but I was pretty exhausted, so I thought, those aren't the best conditions, I'll wait another week. And I hadn't really been running or training, so waiting another week made sense for that reason as well. So we'll make an effort to keep the training going this week and getting prepped for that, as well as prepped for the 5K on the 6th. So that's it for the short haul. I'm in my 12-minute warm-up period. Again, enjoying a cup of coffee, and I tried something new this morning. I don't have any coffee at home. So I had been drinking what's called, or at least what I call, bulletproof coffee last fall or so, late summer. And that was putting a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil and maybe a tablespoon of butter into my coffee. And actually tastes pretty good. And for some reason, those two mixed together actually seems to mix into the coffee, whereas coconut oil by itself just seems to lay on top. So I tried that this morning in a cup of tea, bulletproof tea. There is even such a thing. Something else I've been doing lately is I have an old hobby I haven't really touched for a long time, and that is amateur radio, or ham radio. Probably the numbers have dwindled with the internet, because one of the things my introduction into interest in radio had to do with listening to AM radio stations at night. My freshman year of high school, my English teacher, my journalism teacher, Mr. Orr, challenged us one night to turn on our AM radios, tune around, see how far away we could hear. So I went home, found just any old radio and tuned around the AM bands at night, and I picked up San Francisco and Denver and Albuquerque, New Mexico. So this is from Southern California. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. And that kind of was a bug that bit me. I eventually got into shortwave radio listening, and then eventually an interest in ham radio. So when I was in the military, I remember one other thing sparked my interest in shortwave radio, and that was when I was in the Air Force and was going to be studying a foreign language. So I'll continue this talk here, and then I'll finish up. Put my earphones in. Yeah, so I've had my ham radio license for about 25 years now.
1.
And I've never been real active because, well, life gets in the way. And I found that many amateur radio operators tend to shut their family out, especially their spouses, if there's not a shared interest. So I was careful not to do that with my family. So my radio is up in the attic here. My first contact was probably Morse code. So back at the time, Morse code was a requirement.
Zone 1.
No longer is. I've always wanted to be a Morse code listener. There's still plenty out there. Plenty of people still making contact over the miles via
Zone 0.
Morse code. So when we lived in
Zone
Indiana,
1.
where I first got my license, I put up some pretty ugly antennas, but nothing too elaborate. And just stringing wires and trees. And I had varied success on making overseas contacts.
Zone 2.
Now yesterday was my first
Zone
contact
1.
with anybody in 2017. Made a quick contact with a fella in Italy. I was trying to make contact with a couple of guys in Spain. And this one
Zone 0.
set of frequencies they call bands was really open yesterday, which we're in a spot and we're in a segment of the sunspot cycle,
Zone 1.
which really affects the way that radio waves behave. We're in a spot in the cycle where there's not very good, it's not very good conditions. They call it propagation. So propagation is very poor. So it was surprising around between 5 and 6 o'clock last night
Zone 2.
to hear these very strong stations in Spain. And then at one point they just suddenly, their signal strength dropped
Zone
immensely.
1.
And I had just put out just a random, maybe 100 feet length of wire attached to my radio. My radio has some problems. I'm trying to see about
Zone 0.
getting them fixed. So, anyway, tomorrow is supposed to be a very rainy day.
Zone 1.
I think the system that is down in the Carolinas is making its way here. But will not affect us nearly so much. I think I saw a forecast for 5 to 7 inches in one part. Not sure if that was Carolina or Virginia. That's a lot of rain.
Zone 2.
So we might be expecting more like a half an inch.
Zone 1.
So a rainy day might be a better day for listening in on the radio, tuning around to see if I can find anybody. So a couple of things wrong with my radio is sometimes it will jump frequency. It'll be on one frequency and then
Zone 0.
it'll do something weird. Either jumping frequency or a filter is acting strangely. So made contact with a guy before Easter weekend who I saw a video of his diagnosing and fixing a
Zone
problem.
1.
And he got back to me right away. Asked me to explain what the issues were. And then I haven't heard from him since, so I'll try to follow up with him today if I think about it. Now, when I was in Washington, D.C.,
Zone 2.
I did not run my normal training. I just kind of ran slowly, ignored the zone
1.
changes, and then would walk once in a while. Still pretty slow pace, like I think the average was like 14 something. So I got off of my
Zone
math training
0.
pace. I just wanted to see what it felt like to run, but and so I ran for longer periods. I think I was mostly in zone 3, which would have been up to like 135 beats per minute. Yeah, so that was interesting. Oh, there goes a goldfinch. Has got its color back. It's not all drab and brown. So that's what Steve's been up to. How about everybody else? Not everybody is real busy putting up podcasts these days. That's okay. We've all got other things we're doing. I know Jim is pretty steady, so appreciate his steadiness. Norm has been soaking in some podcasts and Bible teaching that he's enjoying out on the road or out on the Triple C. Seems like mostly he's at the Triple C. Lots of water shots these days. I think I did see something at the hammock. Yesterday was funny. I got a bit of mowing done. More than I thought I would. I thought I was going to give up at some point, getting the whole lawn done, but I did. I got the whole lawn done.
Zone 1.
I thought it was going to be a mostly cloudy day. Instead, it turned out to be a mostly sunny day. There were clouds here and there, but it was more sun than clouds. So that was a real nice treat. Nice to be outdoors. Nice to be productive. Another yard thing I'm trying to be productive in is mending my
Zone 2.
garden fence. A couple of posts that support the fence had broken off at the base. And so,
Zone 1.
well, it was a little rainy on Saturday. It wasn't raining hard. It was just wetter than I thought it would be. I went out and got a post hole digger from my father-in-law and a digging iron to
Zone 0.
get the wood out of the hole and And I went to Home Depot, had a little store credit, and I put toward
Zone 1.
buying some replacement posts. I bought a third replacement post thinking I had a third one to replace. I think it looks okay. So the next effort,
Zone 2.
maybe later this week, will be to continue getting that fence up and tilling the soil so we can get things planted here shortly.
Zone 1.
All right, well, I'm out here at the Quaketown Park perimeter path.
Zone 0.
One last update. So, October 23rd last year, I was having
Zone
coffee with
1.
a friend when he slumped over. His name was Tom Little, and thought maybe Tom was having a heart attack, but turned out Tom had a brain tumor.
Zone 2.
And it was a glioblastoma, I think. Pretty aggressive,
Zone 1.
non-curable. Good morning. Looks like a happy dog.
Pardon?
Very happy looking dog.
Zone 0.
And life expectancy was supposed to be, I think, 12 to 18 months.
Zone 1.
Well, last week, Tom passed away, just short of 6 months.
Zone 2.
So Tom was worked in car sales for 30 years, very successfully, here in Pennsylvania, and then he lived
Zone 1.
in Southern California, where he became a big Dodgers fan. One thing that he noticed was I kept liking things on Facebook related to the Dodgers. So I found out he was a Dodgers fan when he moved out there. He just got really taken up with the team, and so we shared that a little bit. He and his
Zone
wife, he
0.
retired from car sales, and he and his wife Maureen went to Italy
Zone 1.
for 8 years to train missionaries, I think. And they had just retired from that. So 8 years
Zone 2.
in Italy, and had just come back not quite a year ago. And what's interesting is they maintain a house in Florida
Zone 1.
and a cabin here in Pennsylvania. They're only allowed to live in the cabin 6 months at a time. They could live there 6 months, live somewhere else for a month, go back and live another 6 months, but they would split their time between Pennsylvania and Maryland. I mean, Florida.
Zone
So,
0.
anyway, Tom was a very likable and very loved man.
Zone 1.
Was really quite a shock. He is another member of our life group. So our life group has taken a number of hits,
Zone 2.
we could say. One member he and his new wife are not
Time
attending
15
this year.
Minutes 19 seconds. Distance 1 mile. Average heart rate 106
his name is Hugh. Hugh's first wife died of cancer.
Zone 1.
Not sure how many years ago. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And then I had my heart attack in February last year. And then Don. I'm not sure what was first. No. Tom came down with cancer.
0.
Don fell off the ladder. Died from that head injury. Tom then passes from this cancer. Hugh fell off a ladder.
Zone 1.
So, lots of things. So, kind of lightheartedly, said to the other men in our life group, you better
Zone
get out
2.
while it's still safe. And that's not to make light of the seriousness of what has happened to others. So Don's wife, Kathy, is really having a hard time adjusting. I don't think she's 70 yet, but she lives by herself, has this house that Don did everything for her, maintained very nicely, fixed everything, did all the bills, and now that's all come upon her.
Zone 1.
Her 2 daughters live in Lancaster, so they're not too far away, but not right next door, not in town. So, big adjustments for her. She comes to church late every Sunday on purpose because Don played the drums in the
Zone 0.
praise band, and I think it just hurts still. She needs to. I think at some point she needs to move forward.
Zone
And she tends
1.
to leave a little early. So one of her concerns is people aren't paying attention to her, especially leadership. Well, you come early and leave
Zone
early.
2.
There's not an opportunity, so I guess she's expecting folks to contact her when they're not at church. Anyway, it's a hard situation all around. She has lots of expectations, and not everybody has the same. So we're needing to
Zone 1.
deal with her carefully, lovingly, and sometimes, as the opportunity arises, correctively. So if her thinking is not in the right spot, try to gently guide it to where it needs to be. So, all right, well, gosh, I'm talking a lot longer than I thought I was going to, and I think I will cut it off here. Let's see, downloaded a podcast called
0.
All Things Ham Radio from a guy in Texas. Short things. I don't know if I have any running, well, I have plenty of running podcasts downloaded that I haven't listened to. Plenty of Trail Runner Nation, Endurance Planet. Not sure what else I have on here, but plenty to keep me busy. We had a sunny sunrise this morning, but it is now clouded over. I think it'll be cloudy the rest of the day. So, mid-60s today, probably not even 60 tomorrow, and then 70s and 80s for the last part of the week. Looking forward to that. All right, well, this is Steve giving you an update here on Monday, April 24th. And we'll get back to business here, and we'll let you get back to yours. So, take care, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.